If there's one thing I value in a video game, it is immersion. The feeling of being transported to another world, fully absorbed in its atmosphere. The less that takes me out of the experience, the better. And sometimes that even includes optional content. Most open world games are built to keep you busy. They're dense, full of activities meant to hold your attention. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's another kind of open world. One where the focus isn't on giving you more to do, but on making the space feel real. Where the setting, the atmosphere and the smallest details all work together to draw you in. A world that feels alive, but without excess, letting the characters and story take center stage. Open worlds that are built for immersion, not distraction. So you're probably wondering, why would anyone want an open world with hardly anything to do in it? Isn't that the whole point of an open world? Well, yeah, usually it is. For many players, that's the dream. A big sandbox full of quests, collectibles and minigames. And I like a game like that occasionally as well. But most of the time, I actually prefer the opposite. Allow me to make a case for the more minimalist open world. These are the games I'll be talking about in this video. And what do they all have in common? They take less than 30 hours to complete, with an average length of around 15. Now, if you look at the completion rates for many popular open world games, most fall below 35%, with only a few exceptions. I think that has a lot to do with their sheer size and the overwhelming amount of content they pack in. Not all of the minimalist games I'm focusing on have achievement data available, but the ones that do tend to show completion rates above 50%. With one exception, Shadow of the Colossus, which sits around 30. That might be because it's probably the most minimalistic game on the list, which could turn some players off. What do you think? Either way, there's a clear takeaway here. A more focused scope gives developers more control over narrative rhythm. The vastness of a lot of open world games often leads players to spend a lot of time on side missions, sometimes to the point of never finishing the main story. And often those side missions can really break immersion. The urgent main plot takes a back seat while you help every NPC on the map with their personal troubles. Sure, sometimes the story allows for it, but in the games I've chosen, that kind of detour wouldn't make much sense. Take The Getaway, for example. It opens with your son being kidnapped and you being blackmailed into doing a gang's dirty work. The protagonist's top priority, of course, is getting his son back. It wouldn't make any sense for him to suddenly start running errands for strangers around the city. Or take the first Assassin's Creed. You ride towards the city with a singular goal. Find your target and eliminate him. You're there on a mission. Or Shadow of the Colossus. You've come to a forbidden land to revive someone you love by slaying 16 colossi. There's nothing else on the protagonist's mind, and that singular focus is reflected in the gameplay. Again, I'm not against large sandbox-style open worlds, but a tighter scope and a stronger focus on the main plot really helped me align with the protagonist's motivations. Now, that isn't to say that optional content has no place in a minimalist open world. The problem isn't that it exists, it's why it exists. Is it there to ground the protagonist in the world, or is it just there to pad out playtime? In Assassin's Creed, for example, you're only required to complete a few tasks to identify your target. But you can go further. You can rescue civilians, some will help stop your pursuers, others will let you blend in with their scholar companions. You can also gather more intel or sync additional viewpoints. And all of it makes sense for the character. Altair would naturally want as much information and situational awareness as possible before striking. Every optional activity ties into his role as an assassin. Noire handles this differently, but just as effectively. You play a detective solving cases across Los Angeles. While driving to your next destination, dispatch might call in a nearby crime. You can choose to respond or not, but either way it works. It fits your role as a member of the police. Taking a detour to stop a robbery or chase down a suspect doesn't break immersion. It actually reinforces it. It feels like part of the job. Most of the minimalist games I'm focusing on don't include side content at all. But I think it's worth spotlighting a couple of open world titles that, although not minimalist themselves, still manage to integrate optional activities in ways that feel meaningful and character driven. The first is Deadly Premonition. You play as an FBI agent investigating a murder in a small town. The game runs on an in-game clock, so there's often downtime between main story beats. You can spend that time exploring, trying out odd mini-games, or interacting with the town's residents. Most of the optional activities are forgettable, but the conversations with locals often reveal character backstories or even clues for the investigation. Since you're an agent trying to get a feel for the town, these detours actually make sense from the character's perspective. The second game is Rockstar's Bully. You play as Jimmy, a teenager at a boarding school. Like Deadly Premonition, it runs on an in-game clock. After class, you're free to roam, help other students and complete optional tasks. And again, it fits. Jimmy is trying to build his reputation and climb the social ladder, so getting involved in other students' lives feels like a natural extension of his goals. Neither of these games adopt a minimalist approach overall, but they are great examples of how optional content can still feel purposeful when it aligns with the protagonist's motivations and the world they inhabit. That's the key takeaway. Optional content can work if it strengthens immersion instead of breaking it. You might be wondering, with all this talk about smaller scope, narrative focus and minimal side content, why not just play more traditional linear games? Well, I do, but those games rarely give you the chance to stop and smell the roses, so to speak. That's what these minimalist open worlds offer. Space. Space to slow down and really take in the world around you, where you're not constantly being bombarded by markers, pop-ups or a long list of objectives. Your attention naturally shifts to the environment itself. And instead of rushing from one scripted moment to the next, these games let you take your time. And that's when you start to notice all the small details. This attention to detail isn't limited to the environments themselves. It also extends to how these games present information. Instead of layering the screen with a ton of information, many of them use diegetic elements, ways of delivering information that exist within the world of the game itself. The Getaway is a great example. There's no minimap or health bar on screen. If you're driving, your car's blinkers will guide you to your destination. If your character is injured, he will limp, slow down and hold his wounds. Everything you need to know is communicated through the character and the world. In Shadow of the Colossus, raising your sword shows beams of light that guide you to your next target. It's a simple mechanic, but one that's seamlessly woven into the narrative. Even Assassin's Creed, despite some visual clutter, which can be turned off, integrates its HUD to the fiction of the Animus. Every on-screen element is justified by the fact that Desmond is inside the Animus, reliving Altair's memories. And then there's LA Noire, where you don't pause the game to open a generic menu. Instead, you pull out your detective's notebook, flipping through clues and objectives like a real investigator would. Additionally, rather than showing an interact icon at a potential clue in a crime scene, you hear a musical jingle. These small touches really add up. By presenting information as part of the game world, these games make me feel more connected to the characters and pulled into the experience. Combine that with a greater focus on making the world detailed and believable, and these games really transport me to another world. So, what does it all mean? This video has basically been a long-winded way of saying that I like linear games set in open environments, and I'd love to see more of them. There's a big chance a lot of these games turned out this way by accident, and the developers just didn't have the time or budget to fill their worlds with a lot of extra stuff to do. But in my opinion, that actually works for the games, not against them. That's probably also why we don't see this kind of design very often. Still, I could see AA studios starting to adopt this style, using most of their resources to craft strong gameplay and narrative, and the rest to build a believable world without all the bloat. And while Mafia developer Hangar 13 isn't a AA studio, the upcoming Mafia game is launching at a lower price point of €50, and the devs have said the world design sits somewhere between linear and open world. This is exactly the kind of approach I want to see more of, so I'm really hopeful it does well and inspires more games to follow this path. And that's the video. If you enjoyed it, liking the video and subscribing to my channel would mean a lot. Please let me know in the comments what you think of these types of open worlds. Do you find them empty and boring, or do you see the beauty in them like I do? A massive shout out to my Patreons for supporting the channel. Slowly but surely we're building a little community over there, and I'd love for you to join as well. Alright, that's all for now. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace!